Namaste, folks! Today's pose is one of those seemingly easy poses that actually is quite complicated and has a lot of different moving or standing still parts. Virabhadrasana I, Warrior I. It's not my favorite pose to put into classes just because it is a little bit tricky to hold, but a lot of yoga teachers do put it in their classes, and I want to make sure that you have all of the specifics down. So we'll start with the right leg leading. We'll start from standing, but you get into it in the same way if you're coming from plank or down dog. But I want you to get this, obviously it's a standing pose, the standing part down. So we'll put the right leg forward, left leg back, and you want to have your toes at maybe like a 45-degree angle to the left. You can either have your heel to heel alignment if you have a lot of flexibility and this doesn't put you off balance, or you can spread your feet about hip distance apart. So again, that back toe is pointing out at a 45-degree angle. Front knee is tracking over the second toe of the front foot, and that's the basic lineup for your feet. So try it out. Get into the pose. I prefer the wider stance. I find it easier to get into the rest of the pose, but that's completely up to you. Try it both ways and see which one you like best. So from here, press down through the left heel, since we have the right foot leading. Press down through the left heel, press down through the outer edge of the left foot, and walk your right foot forward. Begin to bend your right knee. So you want to have your right knee bent as much as you can, so you can give yourself as much of a distance front to back as is comfortable for you, as long as you keep that left heel down. So this is Warrior I. A modification for Warrior I is high lunge, which we learned a few days ago, wherein you would just lift the heel. So if you really feel like you can't get into Warrior I, don't worry, you can always modify for high lunge when you're in actual classes. But for here, let's give it a shot. So press that left heel down. Bend through the right knee so that the right knee is trying to come over that ankle. Now, from here you might notice that your left hip is opening, your right hip is leading forward. I want you to internally rotate your left thigh. Press down through the outer edge of the left foot. Press the right hip back, so you press your femur into the hip joint. Left thigh is rolling forward. And then you might find yourself leaning forward over your front leg. So now we have our legs in the proper alignment, but our upper body's a little bit off. So if you need to, you can straighten a little bit through the front leg in order to engage the core and tuck the tailbone, or lengthen the tailbone towards the mat. Knit the front rib cage closed. Lift and tighten through the lower abdomen. Again, now you'll notice the left leg is working a little bit harder because we're coming into a more upright position and you need that balance. Shoulders back and down. Try to avoid having an overly arched back, again, so you might need to straighten through the front leg a little bit or narrow your stance front to back. And then from here, you can keep your hands at prayer. You can take them above your head. You can keep them on your hips. And if you go into an advanced variation, you can clasp behind, which will be Humble Warrior, which will be something we will discuss in another class. So take a look at your alignment, see what it looks like. Press that left heel down. Internally rotate the left hip. Press the right femur into the hip joint. Engage the core and look forward. Chin parallel to the mat. Now we can try it on the other side. Left leg leading, and you might notice again that each leg is different, each side is different. So it has a lot to do with the flexibility in your back calf as well. I tend to be able to go a little bit deeper in the pose when my left leg is leading because my right calf is more flexible. So take the stance with the feet, right toes facing at a diagonal, left toes facing directly forward, knee tracks over the left front toe, or in the same direction rather as the toe. Press the right hip, so internally rotate the right hip. Press the left hip back in order to square the hips, so the hips are squared to the front of the mat, or the back of the mat, since I'm facing the back this time. Bend through the left knee, knit the rib cage close, engage the core, lengthen the tailbone. You might be feeling a nice stretch in the front of the hip flexor, the right hip. And then keep your shoulders back, and inhale, lift your arms above your head. And this is Virabhadrasana I on the other side, left side. Once again, if you are unable to get into this, no matter how hard you try, it's just really tight, you can always lift that back heel off the mat and play with allowing gravity to help that heel eventually come to the mat. So, thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial today. I'll see you tomorrow with the next one. Namaste.